Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mandla Mandela, is among the 6 South African activists who have returned to South Africa today on Wednesday, the 8th of October, 2025.
Yes, for me, I'm overjoyed right now. I mean, it's been such a difficult few weeks. I mean, especially the past week, just not knowing where he is, how he is, if he's eating, if he's sleeping, just in what conditions and what he's going through. I mean, and especially when the reports start coming out from the other detainees, when they were saying about the conditions that they were under, having to drink toilet water, woken up at all hours of the night, having dogs at them, standing outside having to undress. I mean, I think that's just so humiliating. And I think for me, as a wife, it was heartbreaking. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. I was just waiting for some kind of word and just to know that he was okay.
I want you to take us a bit back to when you guys had the conversation that he'll be making his way to Gaza with this flotilla. We know that he's a staunch Palestinian, solidarity, person. What was that conversation like, knowing the previous flotillas, the dangers that were associated with it? How did you take the news with the family?
From a family perspective, obviously, as his wife, as the mother of his children, it was very difficult, but if we all stand by and watch that injustice unfold and we do nothing, then what is going to happen? We have to do something. And I think he was so moved because for so long we were calling for something to happen. We were calling on governments to act. And if governments had acted, then there was no need for unarmed civilians. They were just normal people from everyday life. They were so moved by what was happening, seeing babies being starved to death. I mean, it's just, as a mother, those things touched me. When you see a mother carrying her just a child and not being able to bury her child, it was just absolutely heartbreaking. So from a perspective of, we knew that he had to go, but at the same time, I was so fearful because we know what they are capable of. We know what Israel is capable of. And they have proved that time and time again. I mean, these were unarmed civilians. They posed no threat to anyone going. They had no guns, no arms, no weapons. They had humanitarian aid. And yet they were illegally intercepted. They were taken hostage. They were held captive. And none of us knew where they were. And that for me just speaks to the type of people that they are.
Rabia, what about the public sentiment that this was a publicity stunt, that your husband does not care about people in the Eastern Cape, but is caring about people in Palestine? There is that small echo chamber on social media. Can you respond to that?
I would like to respond that it doesn't have to be one or the other. We don't have to make a choice that because something is happening right here that we can choose that we can't look at the next person. When we fought for our own freedom, we called on the global community to fight for us, to stand up for us. And I think for us as human beings, it is incumbent on us to fight for injustice anywhere, that we cannot allow that oppression to continue. And so that was, I feel that if you are saying that why isn't he doing enough in the Eastern Cape, why isn't he doing enough in South Africa, then I'm asking, well, what are you doing? Then come and join us. Let's make that difference. Let's make that change. Let's stand up against gender-based violence. Let's stand up against poverty. Let's stand up for all of South Africa, because there's so much that is wrong in this world. But that change does not rest on one person. It rests on all of us.
What were the conversations like with the kids when you guys found out that, they've been detained, the boats have been intercepted? I'm sure it was difficult.
I think for the past week, the kids have just not been themselves. There's been moments of, it's school holidays, and you're having to sit with them, and they're coming to you, and they're saying, we miss Daddy, and where's Daddy, and is Daddy okay? And it was just absolutely heartbreaking, not having an answer. And all I could say to them was, we have to pray, there's nothing else that we can do. We have to hope and we have to pray that Daddy's coming home to us and Daddy's strong and we'll see him again. But how do you wipe away a 6-year-old's tears and comfort them, because you have no idea and you're having to bury your own pain, your own anguish, and you're having to be strong for them.
Thank you so much, Carri. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Up the revolution!
Now, according to Mandla Mandela, he was abducted or kidnapped by Israeli naval forces in international waters while he was sailing among the Global Sumud Flotilla. Now, we know that he has become very emotional when he was speaking to the press, and he said that the mission was made possible through donations and that donors were able to assist in purchasing a 3 million rand boat, which was what they used to become part of the flotilla. And we know that this flotilla also had Greta Thunberg among them.
Have no resources to see this work through. Yet, with the support of our donors, we were able, as South Africa, to have a boat to carry us to the mission. I therefore want to thank the donors who have supported us and made sure that we were able to be part of this mission. Their names always remain in the shadows and they never get acknowledged. In April 2024, we were stuck in Istanbul with the Freedom Flotilla, and we were never able to sail. With their determination, their support, we were able to put together the Global March to Gaza, where we mobilized 4,000 activists from 80 different countries. We flew to Cairo, those that managed to get to Cairo, many of whom were even denied the opportunity to even access Cairo. Egyptian Air cancelled the flight here in OR Tambo, preventing many of our comrades from going to participate. Those that eventually made it were first denied entry at Cairo Airport, but many of us could only get to the second checkpoint. Therefore, we failed to get to the Rafah border crossing and get the much needed humanitarian aid. But what is worth noting about that particular mission is that this is what Egypt and the Egyptian government has been saying it's supporting and calling. They called for an immediate ceasefire and the opening of the Rafah border to allow humanitarian aid to flow freely into Gaza. Yet when we came to support their position, they denied us the opportunity to get there. So we failed to realize the mission by land. Once again, the Freedom Flotilla, the Global March to Gaza, and the Global Sumud Convoy came together to put this mission together. The Global Sumud Flotilla was born from a need of each country to mobilize boats so we can have thousands of boats sailing to Gaza. We took that upon ourselves on returning to South Africa with ordinary men and women crisscrossing the country, going to every single solidarity group in South Africa. From the Palestinian Solidarity Association to the South African BDS Coalition to Africa for Palestine to the South African Jewish Voice for Palestine, every solidarity group wanted to come together and have a boat sail in their name. Due to limited resources, we couldn't realize that. We also tried to club by metros, Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg. Still, we couldn't realize that. With the assistance of our donors, we were able to procure a boat for 115,000 euros, which was a boat we bought through our comrades in Tunisia from Monastir, and we had it taken to Tunisia. But why was it important for us as South Africans to be part of this mission? It is worth noting that we are a country born out of resistance.
Now, according to Mandla Mandela, he says that he was intercepted in international waters, which is a violation of maritime law.
To Greece. In Crete, we were joined by another 6 boats and 10 from the Italian flotilla. Comrades, if there's anything that we can be proud of and applaud, is that as we called in the Freedom Flotilla in Istanbul that we want to see a wave of boats sailing to Gaza, the Global Sumud Flotilla has on record become the largest ever flotilla ever witnessed. But what is also worth taking note is that a humanitarian mission was supported by the Italian Navy and the Spanish Navy. Even though when we crossed the yellow zone, they withdrew their ships. We were also accompanied by the Turkish drones that were hovering above us and feeding us information on a daily basis as we sailed closer and closer to Gaza. We thank the Turkish government, the Turkish people, and the NGOs, particularly TICA and the Red Crescent, that through the naval boats, they brought humanitarian aid onto the Alma boat. As we remained on the waters of Greece, the Greek government provided security and brought their naval ship with 2 coastal guard boats that were protecting us. But the family boat was sabotaged, and this was our command center where Tiago, Rima, and other comrades of ours were as the steering committee. We had to onboard them onto our boat as Alma, which I was on, with Greta, Yasmin, and other members. But with us, 2 comrades, Zukiswa and Riaz, remained on our South African boat, Florida, which was named Anas Sheris, as well as Zahira and Fatima, were on Amsterdam, with Zahira later being deployed to another boat. Which boat were you?
Wahoo.
Carri was on Wahoo as well. So we set sail, focusing on fulfilling our mission. I want to be clear on this, comrades, that ours was a humanitarian mission. It was a non-violent mission that sought to break the blockade and end the siege that has been ongoing for 18 years, enabling humanitarian aid to get to our brothers and sisters in Gaza. We anticipated two scenarios: that we will be successful in our mission and get to Gaza, or we will be intercepted by apartheid Israel. As we now know, we were intercepted on international waters, which is a violation of international law, maritime law, and a violation of our human rights. 47 of our boats were intercepted. We were detained by apartheid Israel Navy and taken to Ashdod.
And then he said that he was detained by apartheid's Israel Navy and taken to Ashdod. He said that he was denied food, and upon arrival, he realized that there will never be justice in that stolen land. Those are his words. And he said our hands were tied behind our backs and we were paraded for all the Israelis and their allies in the West to see. In the midst of that, the Israelis sent their best at us.
Many of whom were denied food as we sailed to Ashdod. On our arrival in Ashdod, we came to the realization that there will never be justice on stolen land. And we were harshly dealt with by the brutal Israeli regime. And many of you by now have seen how our comrade and sister, a young woman, Greta, at the age of 22, was harassed by the Israeli regime. We were handcuffed with cable ties, tied tightly behind our backs, taken off our boats, and put on the platform, paraded for all the Israelis and the allies in Europe and the West and the global community to see. And in the midst of all of that, the Israelis sent their best at us. Ben Gvir came whilst I was still on the Alma boat with an MP from France, Emma, and Ibrahim, and one other comrade from Morocco, and a delegation of Libyans. And he insisted he wanted to come and address us, particularly because I was on the boat. But the irony of this is that what you would regard as the second in command in Israel was rejected by an ordinary captain in the police and told, no, you can't address individuals, move. And he was ushered to the side and denied that opportunity because he wanted to dehumanize us. But as our heads were shoved down and with our hands tied on our backs, we were pushed down and taken onto the platform to join our other comrades. In his desperate attempt, he still wanted to walk side by side with me so I can be captured on video. This is the desperation of a collapsing entity. On arriving on the platform, we realized that many of our comrades, almost just under 500 of them, had been sitting there. And Greta, who was the first, had been put on the corner, and I was made to sit in the same line at the end with the rest of our comrades deployed everywhere else. I think Zukiswa as well as Rais were put in the front from where I could see. Zahira came and sat in front of me on the last end. And in their best attempt, Ben Kuvira came in the front and wanted to give an intellectual speech. And he came saying, you support baby killers, you terrorists. And I froze in disbelief. This was the best Israel could send, and he had nothing to say. And in our unity, we all started shouting, free, free Palestine!
He also said that Israel's Minister of National Security came and shouted at them, you support baby unalivers and call us terrorists. He went on to say that he would not sign any documents, stating that he had entered Israel illegally, and as a result, they were detained longer by Israel. Now, these are his words, and after that, he gave a lengthy press conference.